Ugh, the dreaded first chapter. It has so many jobs it has to accomplish. You're expected as a writer and author to do so much in such a short amount of word count. And you're expected to just do it all. But fear not. I am here. I'm going to tell you what is expected in that first chapter, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to accomplish those things. I'm Carly, and this is the Carly and Brooke Show, where we interview amazing authors and bring you tips and tricks on writing to become a successful author someday. For daily tips on writing, be sure to check out our Instagram accounts. All right, so let's get into it. Chapter 1, the first chapter that sets up your whole book, the first thing that anyone reads. If they don't like that first chapter, they might give you another second chapter if they're nice, third, unlikely, fourth, probably definitely not, fifth. So basically, your first chapter needs to be so perfect that they want to continue reading the rest of the book. But you got it. I have faith in you. Together, we can make that happen. Okay, so you want to hook the reader, introduce your main character, set up the central story question. If you don't know what that is, I'll link a video right here and I'll leave it in the description below that talks more about it. And you want to include the inciting incident, the call to action, the triggering event. It's one of the main plot points. If you don't know the plot points, I'll link another video here where I talk about the plot points. And then last but not least, you want the reader to want to read more. So how do you make that happen? How do you include all this stuff and keep it underneath a certain word count and make it stay true to the story? It takes a few tweaking, and you're probably going to write the first chapter, I don't want to say it, but at least a dozen times. I've written mine way more than that. If you write it less than that, congratulations. But it's going to take you a few tries, but that's okay. That's supposed to happen in chapter 1. It's going to happen in your last chapter too. Sorry. Maybe. If you're anything like me or any other writer, it might happen. Anyways, but the following chapters get a lot easier. When you're first introducing those characters, when you're first world building, when you're first setting the mood, the tone, it's a lot harder. But as the story starts to pick up, your job as a writer gets a little easier in some areas, and then it gets a lot harder in other areas. But today we are just talking about chapter 1, and so let's really get into it. How do we hook the reader's attention? Well, you can do this with an unusual description, an unusual act. So it varies. If your story's in first person, third person, if it's past tense, present tense, depending on the genre, it goes across all broad spectrums. But basically, if there's something unusual, something that the reader isn't expecting, you're going to be able to hook their attention. They're going to make it through, the second, third, and fourth paragraph. So an area to avoid, because a lot of times when we first start writing, we want to start with the character waking up, or we want to start with the character in a dream. This is not a good idea just because it's been overdone. It's a good idea as far as a reader would like that it's natural, but it's just been overdone, so now it's in that category of cliches. However, with that being said, I still see characters waking up or starting off in a dream in even modern today blockbuster movies, big hit books. So don't ever let what I say stop you from doing what you want to do. These are just tips that I have found on my author's journey. Okay, so now you've hooked the reader. You got to introduce your main character. Who are they? Okay, so if you don't know who they are, I linked up that video before about your central story question. It also kind of helps you dive into who your character is, so right here again. But who is your character? So you want to introduce what their goal is, what they want. Okay, you want to introduce what motivates them to go after that goal. And the motivation can't be just, well, they want to be happy. It's got to be an emotionally tied feeling. Because if the reader doesn't, or if the character doesn't feel it, the reader doesn't feel it. Okay, so you want to know what the character wants. You want to know what motivates them, what stands in their way, and what they stand to lose. And you kind of want to introduce that all in chapter 1 as well. Okay, so you want to basically, the words that you use, the descriptions that you use, they gotta have double punch. They gotta pack more than what they're just saying. And it takes some practice, but it'll make you such a stronger writer, and it will grab the reader's attention and make for a really awesome chapter 1. Okay, so you introduced your character. Now you need to set up that inciting incident. A lot of times you can even tie this in with introducing your character, but an inciting incident can come in a lot of different forms. My plot points, like I talked earlier, linked right here. But basically, whatever happens, their life is changing in this first chapter. Something happens that their life can't go back to what it was. And the reader needs to believe it. And so once they've gone through that doorway of no return, the reader is so invested into this character now and into how this story is going to play out that they're going to read the rest of your novel. All right, and now you want to just end the chapter with a little teaser, maybe a cliffhanger, something to worry about, something to look forward to, something unsolved, just something you're leaving the reader maybe a little unfulfilled, like they want to know more, but you're just leaving them so that they want to read more, that they feel like, I gotta know, I gotta read chapter 2. I can't just put this book down. Because maybe they picked it up at a library, or maybe they picked it up at a bookstore and they're like, oh, I'll give it 1 chapter. So you want them to be like, I gotta buy it now. I gotta check it out now. That is your goal with chapter 1. Give it some time, take as many tries as it needs. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. DM me on Instagram. I'm always around if you need any help. So that is basically it for chapter 1. You want to hook the reader's attention, introduce your character with their goals, their motivations, the stakes, the conflicts, and then you want to set up that central story question. If it's a romance, it'll be, will these 2 characters get together? And then you want to include that important plot point. And like I said, it comes in many different forms, so you can kind of pick and choose what you want. And then you just want to make the reader want to read more. No pressure. You've got it. I believe in you. I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And if you found this video helpful, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you'll be notified when our next video is up. Brooke and I post a writing video every Wednesday or Thursday, and we'd love to have you along this author journey with us. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep writing.